Nice.
Downed him. Oh, annoyingly, he's only down today.
Ah, someone saw. Oh, what? What?
What the hell? Okay. That's
He's cheating. He is cheating. He's the first person I've seen who's definitely cheating. Hey, how's it going everybody? Welcome back to the channel. What you just saw was the last game that me and my friend Emil had played in about a 4-hour session of Warzone. This is the most I've played Warzone since Black Ops 6 came out. I've been preoccupied with zombies and a little bit of multiplayer and just playing some other games. I've only actually played 17 matches of Warzone in total, including the ones that we played today. And so when, up until that match, I hadn't seen anyone obviously cheating, it wasn't a huge surprise. You know, you kind of expect cheaters to be in the higher skilled lobbies. I'm definitely not a high skilled Warzone player. I've been struggling all day. And I'm sure lots of cheaters have moved over to Ranked, although we'll talk about Ranked a little bit later because they are doing something interesting with Ranked this year that might stop a lot of the cheaters. But anyway, we hadn't seen many cheaters at all. Of course, every now and then, because the spectator cam is a little bit weird, you have situations where you think, oh, how did that person see me? Or how did they pull those shots off or whatever? You have little kind of suspicious moments and it's super hard to tell what's going on. But I hadn't seen anything really blatant. And then this happened. Let's just watch it again. So my friend Emil had just shot someone, downed them, who was climbing up that tower. They were just climbing up there. Then as I walk up the hill, I get absolutely beamed. I die so fast. And when you watch the kill cam, this guy's just using an XM4 with a reflex sight. And that to me is super obvious. Like, look at how incredibly accurately he's following me. And that wasn't all. I managed to win my gulag. And then when I landed back in, I was like, okay, I don't want to go anywhere near that hill because that would be super dangerous. Bear in mind, Emil had just killed that person with lots of numbers in their name while I was in the gulag. So he'd killed that person that he'd managed to down. I was worried that that other person was still going to be there. He was actually still shooting Emil here. You can kind of see a couple of the bullets streak across. But I was like, you know what? I want to try and get a little bit of loot, so I'm going to move ahead of them. I'm going to try and get to a point where I can get some loot, and then maybe I can come back and support Emil. Well, like, look here, he's getting shot from that tower all the way down to where he is with that XM4. But I was like, nope, screw it, I'm going to go into this building. So I drop in fairly quickly. I'm not hanging around for very long in the air. And then just quickly grab, there's like an SMG or something there. So I'm like, yep, I'll grab a C9, run up the stairs. And then I heard something. I heard something drop down. I was like, what's that? Came down to look and absolutely beamed. Now this is the guy that Emil killed while I was in the gulag. This is the guy who'd been downed just before I died. So it's the teammate of the person who had just killed me last time. And let's watch this from his perspective again. So he is coming back from the gulag, flying in, looks at me through that container, and then absolutely beams me in the head. 100% both of those players were cheating. But that's not even all. Emil managed to get round to the buy station. He'd survived being drilled at from the first guy. And so I was like, okay, I'll come to where he is. Started trying to get to the other side of the river where Emil was saying he was going to swim across. And I was getting shot out of the sky. So I thought, I know, I'll go for a quick landing. Don't have to open my parachute that way. Doesn't matter. Still got absolutely destroyed getting shot out of the air. Emil was deep down in the water, but unfortunately, you know, thinking maybe he'd be able to try and revive me. Maybe he'd be able to get underneath me and heal me, but every time he popped his head up, he was just getting shot, he was just getting attacked by this guy who was up on top. Now this guy who was up on top isn't using an assault rifle or an LMG or anything like that. He was using a pistol. Emil could see it in his kill cam. So he was just shooting from up there with a pistol and managed to finish off Emil. That's actually the guy who killed me the first time, the first hacker. Now I would like to be able to say, well, at least he got banned later that match. But he didn't. Here I'm spectating someone else right at the very end of the match. He's on the left actually, one of those cheaters, the guy with all the numbers in his name. He managed to self-res in the gas and then get the win. He went on to just win the game. And then of course, as soon as he completed it, he immediately quit out because that's what cheaters do. I guess they don't want to give people an easy way to be able to report them. There he is T-posing through the floor of the helicopter. So what does this tell us about the state of Warzone? Well, not a lot really, because obviously this was just two cheaters in a bigger lobby. Maybe there are other cheaters in that game. Maybe there's other cheaters that we haven't noticed. It's just two super blatant cheaters who we could notice. And because I haven't played that many games of Warzone and Black Ops 6, that's actually the first two people that I've reported in all my time playing since the new game came out. And when I've heard other people complain about cheaters, particularly in ranked, I've always thought, you know, maybe they're kind of over-egging it a little bit, they're overblowing it. There's lots of criticism of Call of Duty's anti-cheat, of Ricochet, people saying it doesn't do enough, it doesn't work. But like I said, in my experience, I'm just showing you this clip again, by the way. I know that you've already seen it once, but I thought it was pretty cool. There was just a lot going on in this bit. It was awesome. But anyway, in my experience, there's not really that many cheaters in Warzone. You know, we were playing for 4 hours and we had one game ruined by them, which isn't great, but it's still not absolutely terrible. And even if it is something that affects that top percentage of lobbies, you know, the top highest skilled lobbies, then, you know, by definition, it's not affecting the vast majority of players. So then it's not a huge problem. It is for those players, but not for anyone else. I've always found it a little bit strange that people seem to direct so much of their hatred at Ricochet, as if it's really easy to stop people cheating. You know, it's like people going to NASA and SpaceX and saying, why haven't you put somebody on Mars yet? Why haven't we got a human to Mars? Can you just go do it? Your rockets must be rubbish if you haven't done it. To me, there's a similar kind of thinking with Ricochet that I assume, like I assume people who work at NASA and SpaceX are really good at making rockets and are doing the best they can. I assume the people who are working on Ricochet are probably doing the best they can. You know, Call of Duty doesn't want a reputation as a game that's ruined by cheaters. They have a lot of money, they have a lot of resources, and you know, they've set up this entire team to combat cheating, and I'm sure they're doing the best that they can. But it's a super difficult problem. It would make more sense to be angry at the cheaters, angry at people that sell cheats, angry at people that advertise cheats, angry at people that use cheats. That's where your sort of hatred should be going towards, that side of the community who decide, hey, I'm never going to be good enough to do what I want to do in these games, so instead I'm going to cheat. And I've spoken before about how I think a slightly larger part of the community is actually responsible for that. The sorts of people that act as if you have to have a high kill-death ratio in order to have an opinion about Call of Duty, or the people that act as if, oh, you can't possibly be enjoying Call of Duty if you're not super good at the game. And sometimes Call of Duty's own marketing seems to take that kind of stance. They're the people that kind of bring about the problem of cheaters, because people hear all of that. They hear that, you know, oh, if you've got a kill-death ratio that's less than 2, or you're not winning a game every time that you hop on, or you're not able to, you know, pull off incredible shots from a long way away, that you must be trash at the game, you're a bad person. People sort of internalize that and think, oh, well, I can't, you know, get better at the game. You know, for lots of people, it's just really hard to play this game. So they decide to cheat instead. I think we could do a lot to stop cheating just by kind of normalizing having fun in the game and making it so, hey, that's the good thing. The people stressing at Warzone, the people, you know, sweating their heads off, trying to do the very best they can, they're the losers. They're the ones who are, you know, doing rubbish at the game. The people who are having a good time with their friends, having a bit of a laugh, getting into funny scrapes, even dying in funny ways, they're the ones we should be celebrating. They're the ones that we should be saying are playing the game right. Because then people might see the positives in having games where you die loads. Me and Emil have had some terrible games today, but I actually had a really good time playing Warzone because I just wasn't taking it too seriously. I didn't mind the fact that I died a lot. We'd be laughing about the way we died. We'd be laughing about how badly we were doing. And it was still a lot of fun. And I kind of think, you know, if you've got that mindset, then you're less likely to load up some cheats. But as I said earlier, there has been something really interesting happening with ranked and Call of Duty. Now, I've heard from lots of people who are in the higher ranks that there are loads of cheaters in ranked and it's a really big problem, and there's just tons of cheaters there that are going to cause problems for you. And that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because one of the new things they've changed about ranked now is that in order to play ranked Warzone, you need to have been in at least, I think it's 30 games where you finished in the top 15 in Warzone. And that's quite a lot of games. As I said, so far since Black Ops 6 came out, I've only played 17 games. So I'm still a way off from being able to unlock ranked. And I know lots of people say, oh yeah, but you're not normal, you know, lots of people will have played way more Warzone than you. And that's true, but imagine you're somebody who's cheating. If you, say, play legit to get your 30 games where you've got into the top 15 and you think each game, you know, adding in all time the lobby, you can probably get 2 games in an hour done if you're trying to get to the top 15. So that's at least, what, 15 hours of playing in order to be able to unlock ranked. And then if you start cheating in ranked and get banned, then you've got to do all of that again on a new account. We've always said that one of the big problems with Ricochet was that if someone gets banned, they'll just start a new account, which is obviously true. The people we saw cheating today were both super low level on their first prestige, so that must have been what they're doing. And if you were trying to play ranked, it just wouldn't feel worth it that every time you get banned and switch to a new account, you've got to play for like at least another 15 hours just in order to be able to get back to ranked at all. I think that's a really good system that they've set up. As annoying as it is to me that I can't just hop into ranked, which is what I want to play, instead I've got to play a load of normal matches, I can understand it, and I think that's a really good way of stopping cheating. And in terms of stopping cheating, that's a kind of another interesting topic. We were talking about this on stream earlier, that there's lots of people who act as if Ricochet doesn't work. When they did that update of the blog post a couple of days ago, there were lots of people saying things like, oh, they're finally going to add a kernel level anti-cheat, like finally it'll be able to do something. And that's not what they were saying at all. They were just saying they're upgrading their kernel level anti-cheat. And people were saying, oh, well, they're saying that they're not going to be able to do anything until Season 2 or 3. Why aren't they doing it now? And it's like, software development takes time. I'm sure they have done stuff right now. They're just aware that they're lagging behind the cheaters a little bit, that it's becoming a little bit of a problem. But they're in a really difficult situation where if imagine you're a developer for Ricochet, you can't talk about what you're doing. You can't put in an update or patch note saying, hey, we've developed ways to detect these cheats. This is how we're detecting them. You know, we're using statistical analysis. We're using machine learning and AI to track these kind of patterns. We've determined these kind of injects are problematic or these kind of programs, because any information you give people is just going to help the cheaters to get around it. So you don't want that to happen, of course. And also, they can't really say what percentage of cheaters they're stopping, because they don't know. Obviously, any cheaters they're detecting, they're finding ways to stop, but any cheaters that they're not detecting, they just don't know how many of them there are out there. And we don't know either. As I said at the beginning of the video, it's very easy to be playing and to assume that someone was cheating, when really it might have been good comms on their part, or a UAV you didn't notice, or a personal radar, or something like that. It's very easy to die and just be like, oh, well, that person was probably cheating. But you can't really know. You can never know how many cheaters there are in your game. You can never know how often you interact with those cheaters, because obviously there could be cheaters in your game that you just never see. You might sometimes snipe someone who's a cheater and never know it. And sometimes there might be people who you do kill or who kill you who you assume are cheaters who weren't. Nobody really has a good sense of not only how many cheaters there are in the game right now, but also how many cheaters are being stopped by Ricochet. Like, you see the cheaters that get through Ricochet, you've got no idea whether that's, 5% of the cheaters that manage to affect you in games. Maybe there's another 95% of cheaters that are getting their accounts banned as soon as they try to log into the game, or as soon as they kill someone, or as soon as they load up. You just can't possibly know. But, and I don't want to sound, like I'm too on the side of Activision all the time and things like that, there is obviously a problem. Like, this kind of blatant cheating that I showed you at the beginning of the video, this blatant cheating is something that I haven't seen since the days of Caldera. I feel like we've had a few years now, all of like Warzone 2, where there's definitely still been some cheaters in the game, 100%, I'm not saying there's been no cheaters, but it's felt like they've had to hide what they're doing a little bit better. It's felt like they're having to be a little bit more subtle about it. But in that game, when we saw those 2 cheaters kill us, that was super obvious. It was right at the beginning of the match, and those people managed to go on and end up completing the game and winning the game. Like, I'm sure everybody that watched a kill cam of them killing them definitely reported them, because it looked so suspicious. They weren't trying to hide it at all. It's maybe not quite as blatant as in Caldera when people were flying cars around in the sky. That was a little bit ridiculous. But it does bring to mind times in Caldera where people were like, spinning around, shooting people out of the sky and things like that. If the cheaters aren't hiding what they're doing, then that kind of indicates that they're not too worried about getting banned, that they don't think they're likely to get banned maybe, or that if they do get banned, it just doesn't affect them. And that's a really big problem for Call of Duty, because, if you're like me and you don't have that much of a sort of passion for Warzone right now. You don't have that much of a reason to play. And, you know, I'm a content creator that made a lot of their content on Warzone, so I've probably got more reason than most people. But for people like me, I have something like that happen, and if that happened more than, like, you know, once a day, I'd probably just stop playing the game. I'd just be like, yeah, that's not for me. There's cheaters in it. They're blatant. That's not for me. And that'll be a real problem for the game. I've noticed on Steam charts that the number of people playing Call of Duty has kind of gone back to the same level it was before Black Ops 6 came out. And that's a real shame, because Black Ops 6 gave it a huge boost, way more than Modern Warfare 3 did, which kind of indicated lots of people were playing the game, lots of people were returning to the game. Obviously, we can't see player numbers on Battle.net or on PC Game Pass or Xbox or PlayStation, where there's going to be way more people playing. But just looking at the overall trend on Steam charts, the fact that there was this huge uplift for Black Ops 6 was really impressive, but it hasn't kept going at all. And maybe that's some people who just play the campaign and have finished the campaign now, so aren't playing anymore. Maybe it's some people who were getting really into zombies, but now we're kind of at a weird point where there's not a lot to do in zombies. You know, if you've done the 3 Easter eggs, we have just had a new map. But once you're done with that, maybe there's not so much to do anymore. People completing the camo grind, or people just feeling that the novelty of Black Ops 6 has worn off already, and we're kind of into another pattern of, okay, this is more of the same. This is more of the same game that we've been playing since, like, 2020. Personally, I really hope that Call of Duty does something, like, really new and refreshing for the next game or the game after that. But, you know, I don't think they will. So anyway, this was a little bit of a downer video. Sorry to make videos like this every now and then, but I just thought it was really interesting that, you know, even people like me that tends to downplay the cheating problem in Warzone, I don't think it's as much of a problem as people said, but even people like me are now starting to see these really blatant cheaters, and I think that is a problem that Call of Duty needs to take note of. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one. Goodbye.